So I know not a lot of people are thrilled with the blinds that go on this rear window in the Magnolia. Um, so I went and I made a insert that fits pretty snugly in the window frame here, and I got some tabs here at the bottom. And it's basically carpet on one side that matches basically the interior of the trailer, and a piece of 1/2 inch pink styrofoam, and then on the other side it has Reflectex, so it reflects the heat and sun away from the trailer, so it provides a little insulation and of course reflects heat. So, and I think it also probably deadens the sound a little bit. And in the morning, the sun doesn't come blaring through this blind, which is the big reason for having it. But anyhow, that's it. I can put together a quick clip on the materials that I used, but it was pretty basic. I just used a piece of cardboard and cut a template so that it fit nice and snug inside the frame. And then I made my styrofoam board that with that template, and then I sprayed some spray adhesive on it, and I stuck my carpet down to it, and then I just trimmed the carpet right to the edge, and then I flipped it over and did the same thing for the Reflectex, and came out here and stuck it in the trailer, and it fits really snug. I thought I was going to have to cut it down a little bit, but ultimately it popped in there, and there's almost no light leakage at all around it. Alright, so this is how it looks from the outside. You can see, because I had the 24-inch Reflectex, you can see, up near the top here, you can see that piece of foil tape. So if you wanted to spend the extra money to get a, 5-foot long section of Reflectex, I think it was like $57, which is substantially more than the 24-inch roll. You could do away with not having that. And then I put these tabs on here to be able to pull that out, and so you can see that's that aluminum tape right there. And on the other side, there's just a piece of folded over tape that gives you something to grip onto to try and pull it out of the frame. So this is the template I used to make sure I had a good fit. So basically, what I did was I scribed on a separate piece of paper the curvature of the corners, which I basically did just by taking a Sharpie and putting my finger between the window frame and the Sharpie, and then running it around the corner. I cut that out, and then what I did for the measurements of the template was just measure the inside of the window frames at their center point, making sure to go to the inside of the frame because it's got a lip around it on the front, on its face. So you want to get inside that lip so you get a nice smooth fit, a nice snug fit. And once you've measured those, you can just lay your corner template on each corner and trace those out, and that gives you a nice curve, a nice curve that matches the corner inside the frame. Okay, here are the materials that I used to make this. I had some of the materials on hand. I had the 3M adhesive on hand, and I had the aluminum tape on hand, so I didn't have to incur the expense for those. But I did buy the foam board, which was a 1/2 inch by 4 by 8 foot piece of foam board. It was about $17. I bought the Reflectex, which was a 24-inch by 10-foot wide roll. For my purposes, 24-inch was a little bit shy of the height of the window, so I had to butt the seams together, the edges together, to make a seam, and then I covered that seam with that aluminum tape. If you don't like the look of that aluminum tape and you don't mind spending the extra money, or you have other projects that you want to use your Reflectix for, you can go ahead and get the 60-inch roll. It's just like $57 for that roll versus I think I spent $12 or $13 for the 24-inch roll. And then the adhesive I used was the 3M, I think it's 77. It's just a spray adhesive. You spray it on each of the surfaces that you're going to mate. Let it, sort of dry for a few minutes, and then, overlay them on top of each other. So in this case, you definitely don't want to touch those surfaces together unless you want them to be mated. So, for my purposes, I sprayed the carpet, for instance. I set that aside, then I sprayed the foam board. I let those, sort of dry for a couple minutes, and then I sort of took the carpet and just flipped it over my head and down my back, the adhesive on the, outside, and then I just laid the edge on the foam board and then started pressing it so it went on nice and smooth all the way up. And I cut the carpet a little oversized so that you could just trim it off with a knife after you were done. And then, of course, the carpets here, that's a cheap piece of indoor-outdoor carpet that was, I think, $27 for a 6x8 piece. I just use a utility knife to cut everything. It does leave kind of a rough edge on your foam board. Ideally you might use a hot knife or a hot wire. I have a soldering iron that has a X-Acto blade on it. I just didn't want to go looking for that, so I didn't mind the rough edge. It was hidden in the frame anyhow. And I just wanted to be clear that this was done on a Intech Aucta Magnolia trailer from 2025. It was one of the early 2025 models. So, your trailer may be different, but I think most of these principles still apply. If you make one of these, let me know how it worked out for you. Thanks.